My name is Kati Morton. And I'm going to draw my life. I was born in a really small town in Washington State. Really small. To my dad, who was bald on top, and my mom, who at the time had Curly's 80 hair, which was actually straight on one side for some reason for a while. And they were in love, and they had my brother, Nicholas, and 3.5 years later, they had me. And we lived in a house on an acre lot next to my grandma and papa's house. And they had a Christmas tree farm, which growing up I thought was so cool. And I loved playing in the trees. And so my brother and I used to spend all our time outdoors because we didn't have cable TV. My mom was like, get out of the house. And so we would go out and play, and we'd build all these tree forts. And we'd play as long as we could until we'd hear my dad whistle, which I still can't do properly, but it's something like... And so we'd have to run home in time for dinner, because if it took too long, they'd be all pissy, like, where were you? How far away were you? And so my brother was my first friend, but my next first friend was when I rode the school bus. Her name was Jamie, and she had long Rapunzel hair, and I was really jealous, and it was crazy long. And she had a dad who was really into sports and was like, work harder, and he had 2 daughters, and I think he wished he had a son who could play sports, because I was like, we played baseball, and he made it really intense. But then we found soccer. Hooray! And so we would play soccer together, and her dad didn't know anything about soccer or how to play soccer, really, and so he could pretty much just cheer from the sidelines, and we were like, yay, now we can have fun like kids are supposed to have, so that was cool. And one time, our team was really good, our girls' team, and so they put us up against the boys, and the boys were like, we're gonna kick your butts. We were like, haha, we beat you bad. Girls rule. Sorry, guys. But I was really excited. And so, one of my favorite memories growing up with my dad is he used to put me in the backseat of his Bronco and take me out in the trees. I had no idea where we were going. He'd wake me up really early, and we'd go hunting and shooting quail. I know that sounds really nasty, and people are like, oh my gosh, Katie, I can't believe you hunted. But I still own guns, and I don't really hunt anymore as much, but it was kind of more about the experience I had with my dad. It was our bonding time. I was a total daddy's girl. I'd do anything my dad, wanted to do. And next comes high school, bum, bum, bum. And by this point, I kind of got tired of my little town. And I had a good time. I was really involved. I was working really hard in all these AP classes, and I was studying my butt off because I was like, God, I gotta get out of here. So I played softball and soccer. And I also discovered choir. And the reason that I discovered choir was because I accidentally forgot to sign up for band in time. I played the clarinet. And so I ended up joining this thing called West Singers. And we had to get up at really early before school started in practice. But I really enjoyed singing. So that's the lesson learned there. And then I was like, oh my gosh, I want to go to college. I have no money. Maybe I'll sing for my money. And so I did. I applied to many schools and I sang to get in. And I got some scholarships. And so my mom and I went to California to go see schools and to see which ones I liked. And OMG, so many lines in the freeway. And I was like, oh my gosh, remember? I'm from a small town. I'm so confused. But we made it. We got between schools and everything, and we navigated our way as we laughed and cut people off, and people honked, and we were confused and scared. And then I checked out Pepperdine. Oh my gosh, I was so excited. I fell in love with it. I was like, you're amazing. Please take me. I hope I get accepted. You're by the beach, but you're also very, very expensive. And so I remember talking with my mom, and her dad used to work at Kraft Foods, oddly enough, and he'd saved up a bunch of money, worked with financial aid, and made it work. Hooray! So I was able to go to Pepperdine, and I was so excited, and I was so ready to leave. And then after 1 year in school, I came home for the summer, hanging out with my mom, and my grandpa called, and he was like, I'm going to be mean, be a total jackass. I'm not going to help you with school anymore. He was getting old and senile, but it made me really sad. And then I couldn't go back to Pepperdine. I was like, oh my God, my life is over. What am I going to do? I worked so hard to get out of this town, and here I am back. So I moved to Seattle, which, is really hilly for any of you who've been there. Tons of coffee. But I was unhappy. I was, angry. And I remember my best friend Ashley at the time was like, Katie, I can't stand you. And I was like, what am I doing? Who am I? What the hell is going on with my life? And so I had to make a change. And the only thing that made me happy is I had to get back to Pepperdine. And so I called one day. I remember it was a summer afternoon. I was out to lunch and I was like, I'm going to make this happen. Went out to my car, sat in my car, and I called financial aid office. I was like, I have to get back. And they were like, well, we can help you out with this scholarship and that. If you sing in the choir, we'll give you some money for that. And then I took out some personal loans on my own because I really needed to get out and I wanted to go back. So I made it back. And that's when I met my friend Liz. And Liz is from Hawaii, and we became fast friends. And she's actually the one who makes all those bracelets that you guys buy. So thanks, Liz. You're the best. Thanks for all your help. And then I graduated from Pepperdine. I got my bachelor's. I was so excited. And I was really proud because my brother and I are the first in our family to go to college. So that was a big deal. And then I started work in the real world, and it sucked. Like, I felt like I got sold out. Somebody was telling me, like, oh, this is a mental health thing, and you can work there. But really, people just call in and complain. I'm supposed to make things better for them. It was a horrible job. I was like, what the hell, Katie? What's going on? And so I ran back to Pepperdine, up the hill to graduate school, because I was like, this undergrad degree is not getting me the job that I want. So back I went. And graduate school is 2 years long. And so after 1 year, you have to apply for internships. And I went to so many interviews and I was like, I'm going to change the world. Please, I'm a hard worker. You'll love me. And they're all like, we don't believe you. And finally, I went to an eating disorder clinic who was hiring. And there was this wonderful woman named Karen. And she was like, I get a good feeling from you and I'd love to hire you. And I was like, this is amazing. I'm going to change the world. I finally know what I want to do. I have a purpose. I'm not some lost puppy wandering around. So thanks, Karen. You changed my life. And then I went down to Orange County, which I'd never been to before, because for any of you Los Angelinos, we don't really go down there that often. And I went with a girl I went to graduate school with, and I met this guy. He was like, hey, my name is Sean. I was like, you're cute, and I'm embarrassed. And we ended up dating, as you all know. He's my cameraman. We fell in love. We've been dating ever since. And so I went back to school and I was studying. I'm studying really hard. I was working really hard. And one day I got a really, really shitty phone call from my mom. And she was like, I'm sorry, Katie, your dad is in the hospital and he just had a heart attack and they don't think he's going to make it. And he didn't. And I cried. And I still cry sometimes because it's sad. And so I got on the first plane, which Sean actually booked for me. Thanks, Sean. And I cried the whole way there with my headphones on, not wanting people to talk to me. Like, don't look at me, I'm sad. And I had to go to the funeral. And I was so pissed at my brother because he was in the Peace Corps, helping others. It's amazing. But he wasn't there with me and I felt really alone and I was really sad. And all of my friends and family showed up, and they were like, I'm so sorry. And I just wanted to crawl in a hole. I was like, go away. And I just hung with my mom as we cried, and it was really sad. It's hard to lose a parent. It's still hard. But then, about 6 months later, I had to go back to school. I finished. I could only take a week off, and I got my master's. And I was so excited after all these years. But I had student loans, remember? I had to take those out. Those people wanted their money back, and I was like, wow, what do I do? My eating disorder clinic job doesn't pay me enough. And so I took a bunch of odd jobs where I waitressed. What am I drawing? What is that? Well, anyway, people are getting food and drinks and stuff, and I was bringing it out to their table. And then I was a salesperson, like, hey, I have this thing. Will you buy it for me, please? Because I don't know what to do, and I need to pay my student loans back. And I was like, what am I doing? I'm not even focused on what I want. And then I found YouTube. And I was so excited. And I remember talking to Sean, I was like, oh my God, I can actually reach a lot of people. And this is going to be so exciting. And it was just the best discovery ever. And Sean and I go to Mammoth a lot, as a lot of you know, and I go snowboarding. And one day, he at the top of the mountain, after we'd been snowboarding, he asked if I'd marry him. And I was so excited. And I said yes, and I cried like a baby. And then we decided to start filming, because Sean is my cameraman, as many of you know. And I created my first YouTube video. And I remember I was so excited. I was like, oh my gosh, people are watching. I have 4 views. And then I was like, wow, I'm touching the world, but it's probably just my mom. Or maybe me, because I probably watched that video a lot, because I was really nervous. And then I had my first few followers. Mags, Mondi, Liz, Punk. And you really ran KatiMorton.com when I first started it and gave me a lot of feedback. And You help my dreams come true. And I love you all very much. And I'll never forget you. And then it grew. Things got crazy. People on YouTube, more followers, more subscribers. And it's not even about the thousands of followers. It's just the fact that we interact all the time. I feel like I know you. You're like part of my family and my friends. And I remember you and I know your questions and comments. And there's a lot of questions and comments. And it just kept growing. And I was so excited. And I was like, wow, this is getting really cool. And there are a lot of people that need help. And so I started joining other things. Facebook, Tumblr, which I always spell wrong, which is why I did the T, and Twitter, which I can't draw a bird, so we're just gonna do that, and KatiMorton.com, and then Pinterest, which, sorry, I forgot the E in that, but you know what I'm talking about. And there were people all over, and people had questions, and they were on Twitter, which they'd never heard of me before because they weren't on YouTube as much. And then, you know, there's people on Pinterest, and then Facebook, and then KatiMorton.com, and then, oh my gosh, it's getting so busy, and people are from here and there, and one's on Tumblr, also on Facebook, and then we're also on YouTube, and then Twitter, and oh my gosh, I'm back to my website, and holy moly, it was so overwhelming, but I was so excited and so happy that I'd reached out to you guys, and we all know that you're not alone. And so I felt very excited, and I have some good ideas for the future, and I'm so excited. Like, hey, Kaylee reaching out to me was the coolest thing ever. And so now I have some other collaborations that I'm hoping could happen. Maybe Daily Grace, if any of you watch her, she's hilarious. Jenna Marbles, another favorite of mine, as well as Glozell, which is also good for a laugh, and Hannah Hart, who does My Drunk Kitchen. I'm hoping that, you know, sometime in the future I can do some different collaborations because I think it's really cool, and YouTube is really amazing. And I finally feel like all the work and all the school and all the money that I took out and the times I'm paying back, you know, you've given me a purpose and a drive, and I look forward to hearing how you guys are doing and reading all your comments. I believe in this. I believe in what we're doing. I believe in our community, and we're working together, right? We can do this. It's just so exciting and so powerful. We'll work, as always, we're working towards a healthy mind and a very healthy body. I love you all, and know that I will keep doing this for as long as I can, as long as the internet allows me to, and as long as I can keep typing and reading, which hopefully is for a really, really, really long time. So thanks for watching my video.